Hey guys, HappyCattyCrypto here and welcome back to the channel. So if you didn't catch the content yesterday, definitely go back, have a listen to those videos we dropped yesterday. I think they're pretty important. What I do like to see is a strong reaction from those who are behind the whole rack off. And when you get a reaction like that, you know you've hit on more or less some nerves, and it's true. And that's why they're annoyed, because they've been sussed out. They've been found out, so to speak. So just be aware, they're going to keep rebranding. They're going to keep doing things. So there's only 1,431 days until the next halving event. I'm just playing, guys. I'm just playing. Let's move forward. So this is a really good article I wanted to dive into before we go over anything else here, because there's an interesting Agora up. And what's even more interesting is people always think it's me. I don't know why people think I'm some high castle person. Honestly, if someone anonymous comes forward, people are just like, it's HEC. It's not me. If it was me, I would just propose it. I do a video on it. I would push it as content. The situation that surrounds this Agora is complex but simple, and I think this person's gone for quite a simple approach. So Hong Kong is to list Bitcoin and Ether ETFs in April. This is really important. This is going to be one of those moments, once again, that probably acts like a huge catalyst, a huge slingshot, because Hong Kong is the gateway to China. If you want to get into China, if you want to get crypto into China, Hong Kong's going to be the way you would do it. And it's kind of like a gateway drug for China into cryptocurrencies. They can legally test them there, and they can do all sorts of different things that they wouldn't normally be able to do on such a broader scale. They can collect data, and they can probably come up with their own systems. As we all know, the internet and places like China, TikTok in China is very different as well. So I'll leave a link to this article. I'm not going to be going over it because we've got more pressing things to go over here in this video. But like I said, really interesting article. I will leave a link to it in the description. So let's keep it moving. The next thing I wanted to bring up was the hilariousness of the LUNC validators chat that has been spun up, and you've got Rexy, who owns Terraport, Terra Vita, and Terra Casino, runs 3 validators. And then you've got Christopher Harris, who runs 2 validators, Jesus is Lord 1 and 2. And they're both more or less running multiple nodes, but both claiming each other is running multiple nodes, whilst both denying they both run multiple nodes. And honestly, you just can't make this up at this point. It's hilarious, to say the least. I honestly would not trust these guys with even a couple of million LUNC. I really wouldn't, because their best intentions are to either ransack, pillage, and centralize the chain, or just completely consume the chain entirely and provide a totally alternative system as to which it will be there lying in wait when this chain finally goes under, after people like this have pillaged and plundered it to death, whilst acting like they wanted to do something for the chain, like they wanted to provide something for the chain. If they wanted to provide something for the chain, they would have built a DEX for the chain. They would have integrated it all into chain. Everything would have been done on chain, but it's not. It's all being done on Terraport. So there you go. Really simple answer to a really complex situation. So let's move forward onto this Agora. And there's just not a lot going on Agora. It's either ChatGPT nonsense, and yeah, it is ChatGPT nonsense. Even if you've written 3 paragraphs and you've spent 5 years writing those paragraphs, then you go to ChatGPT to prune it, check it all through, get it to do the length work for you. You didn't write your proposal. You used a robot to do it. Right? That's not you. That's not your intelligence. If you had the intelligence to do it, you would have written it yourself. You wouldn't have gone and used AI. It's just ridiculous at this point. So, like I said, just not a lot going on. More repeg plans. Absolutely hilarious, to say the least. Anybody who thinks we're going to be repegging USTC is doomed for failure. We Mint Cash secured that for anyone who wanted to restore and repeg USTC. There's been too many pillage and plunder attempts, too many fake repegs. It's just a lost cause at this point. LUNC should be the only interest of this blockchain's development moving forward. So governance rules to prevent double and network validating. So rules to prevent double and network validating. In recent observations, we have identified the emergence of validators running multiple nodes on the chain, posing a risk to decentralization and security of the network. This has now become a serious issue on chain, which is centralizing our active set further. This allows them to circumvent the dynamic commission module while other validators obey it. To address this concern, we propose the introduction of a governance rule that is explicitly prohibits the following. I think they meant to put governance rules. I guess that's a spelling mistake. So if they are listening to this, maybe go in, check that, have a look. So no validator on Terra Luna Classic Columbus 5 will run multiple nodes. They will maintain one validator. No entity shall network validate on Terra Luna Classic Columbus 5. No entity will run a validator for each division of its project. Non-custodial service providers shall not allow a customer to run more than one validator on the Terra Luna Classic Columbus 5 chain. These rules aim to preserve the decentralized nature of our network, reduce the risk of Sybil attacks, and ensure the dynamic commission module is not circumvented. So Terradocs rules update. This is a little bit strange because I don't know if we have a Terra Classic version of the docs. So this is probably something that may lead to getting our own version of it. So they might want to look into that. That's quite an important point. So an update should be made to our doc system to incorporate and include this new rule if the proposal passes. So conclusion, the proposed guideline aims to safeguard the Terra Classic network against potential Sybil attacks, reinforcing the principles of decentralization and fairness. If this proposal passes, validators are required to obey the new approved rules and revert to one single node. Non-custodial providers will abide by the new rules and deny customers running multiple nodes. So I think this is a really good proposal and it's quite simple. I do think there's one thing missing, which is kind of like a grace period. I think would be a good way to put this. It would, let's say, like a 2 to 3 month grace period for validators who are running multiple nodes and have decided to do that. Now with the new rule set in place, should they be given a grace period? I think 1 to 2 months at most is enough. 3 months would give them too much time to sit there and dawdle about. 2 months, I think, would get their backsides in order. So what I've seen in the comments here is people saying, and I've been thinking the same thing, is what is the consequences if you still double node, and how would you prove that someone is double noding? We can't always prove who and who isn't double noding, but we can see that Jesus is Lord is doing it and Terra C Vita is doing it as well. So therefore we can start with them. And what I would say is, for those who are like, how do we actually enforce this? The same way that you're all enforcing the paid per job and you're making sure that developers are doing things per job, I would look at it in the exact same light, because the argument, as far as I'm aware from what I know, is that there is no rule. So another interesting point of this is it would bring a rule, but not only that, this kind of forces all of the validators into the light, because if you vote no to this, you're against decentralization, therefore being for decentralization, double noding and network noding, which is totally against the ethos ethics of this blockchain. So this is really interesting. And I think it's really good. So like I said, if the person's listening, I think you should go in and you should add a grace period, do that addition where it's rules, not rule, because you've got 3 rules in there. And I think this could be interesting. What I'd be quite happy to see is when this goes up, I'm definitely going to be voting yes for it. We can see that the engagement in this so far is pretty positive. And as it stands, right, the next steps, this is perfect. This is exactly what we needed. And it's not overcomplicated. It's not ChatGPT'd, if that makes sense. You can tell that this is just very simple, very straightforward. And they're not overcomplicating it. It really is Ronsil. If you don't know what Ronsil is, there was an advert, and the sort of saying is in the advert is it does what it says on the tin. This is Ronsil in that sense. But moving forward, how do we think this would go? Well, realistically, right? Like I said, this could push everybody into the light. This could create a situation where it forces hands. And although it's manual, right, it would therefore be a rule. And something really interesting that I did find, and it's in the previous video where I went over the voting power limiter. In there, it actually says if a tax proposal passes, it is to be manually implemented. It actually states in there, it is to be manually implemented. So therefore, right, this is something we should all have to abide by. So I think it's going to be really interesting. We do need a rule set. We do need some kind of constitution. I've been saying this for some time. So we'll have to see where this goes, where this ends up and how it pans out. But honestly, this is on point. This is what we should all be thinking about moving forward. And we shouldn't lose sight of what's important. But let me know what you think about this in the comment section, folks. Get those comments in. Go over to go over to Commonwealth, comment on this. I'll leave a link to it. Let them know what you think. Have some input, and we'll see how it goes from there. But other than that, guys, stay safe, stay humble, stay aware. As always, I'll catch you in the next one.